as we get started. Welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Rafi Shulman, and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. It's really wonderful to have you here. We're so excited to be with you and share some information with you. I'd like to just take a moment and thank all the presenters who joined us today, starting with my partner, Laura Itzhaki, Ariel Maresky, Alon Ben David, Avraham Levinsky, Daniel Engelsman, Darren Rich, Eliran Chazaz, Eytan Bennett, Harriet Markle, Karen Habenstock, Netanya, Rebecca Frank, Shaya Safin, and last but not least, Tamar Cohen. We really thank you all for joining us tonight. We know that you have a lot of great information to share, and I just want to let everybody who's joined us tonight know that when we decide to work with companies and individuals, we don't just pick anybody. We really very carefully decide who we want to work with to make sure that we refer you to them, you're going to be taken care of. So just keep that in mind. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention three quick things. The first thing is that we are recording this. So if you come late or you have to leave early, don't worry about it. We'll send out a recording within the next couple of days. Also, if you know of anybody who wasn't able to attend, share the recording with them or let them know we're doing this again on March 31st, on Sunday, March 31st, and they're welcome to attend. Go ahead and type your questions in the Q&A window. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end, so please just be patient with us. We will get to them a little bit later and answer as many questions as we can. And last but not least, we will have our contact information, and we really want to encourage you to reach out to us. We want to encourage you to call us, to ask us questions. We're just not going to be able to get to all the details and everyone's specific situation in this webinar tonight. So reach out to us. We're also going to try and reach out to you. Let's schedule some time to talk, and let's really figure out what your concerns are, what your goals are, and how we can help you. We have over 180 people from around the world, which is really quite amazing and mind-boggling when you think about the fact that we're in the midst of a war. There's a lot of chaos going on, and yet people still want to connect with Israel, whether they want to make Aliyah, or maybe they're living in Israel and they want to buy a home. It's just amazing to see how people just really have so much passion for Israel and want to be involved with it. And we're happy to guide you in any way that we can. Before we get started, I just want to share a couple of things about Olim Advisors for those of you who are not familiar with the organization. So we started back in 2016 and really had two goals in mind. The first goal was to help and encourage people who want to make Aliyah, to help them and guide them make those important pre-Aliyah decisions like finding the right community, finding the right schools, finding the right home, what to ship, what to bring, all those decisions that are tough to make. We're here to guide you. And the second goal is to help you adjust to Israel once you get here. And over the years, we've helped thousands of people make Aliyah and adjust to life in Israel. And one of the most important and one of the statistics that I'm most proud of is the fact that less than 1% of the people who we've helped have gone back to Israel, have gone back home. And that's really a testament to the planning, the research, and working together with the families. About 2 years ago, we also decided to expand into real estate and to help people find a home that they want to buy, whether it's somebody living abroad that wants to buy a home in Israel or somebody that lives here already and wants to buy a home. We're here to guide you through that entire process, to connect you with our network of professionals and really make sure that the process goes through as smoothly as possible. So if you're thinking about making Aliyah, or if you're thinking about buying a home in Israel, don't do it alone. Reach out to us and let us help you. Okay, so let's get started with the first topic, which is advice for people who are looking to make Aliyah in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s, in that golden age, people who are semi-retired, people who are retired. And there's really three things that you should keep in mind. The first thing is you have to think about the financial impact, the cost of living, your investments, things along those lines. The second thing that you have to think about is healthcare, how to make sure you get the right insurance coverage, how to make sure that you have the right medication, and so on and so forth. And the third thing is, where do you want to live? What kind of lifestyle do you want? So let's drill into each one a little bit more and get into the details. So when it comes to the financial topic, there are a few important things you need to do. First of all, you want to make sure that you have a budget. You want to make sure that you understand what the costs of living in Israel will be, whether it's the cost of the Aliyah, so shipping your things here, the one-time cost, or the ongoing costs that you're going to have as you live in Israel. And so there's a very good nefesh benefesh budget that if you're interested, I can send you the link to it so you can get a sense, and you want to really try and approximate what your cost of living will be so that you can move to Israel and live here comfortably. The other thing you want to do is try and lower your expenses as much as possible, whether it's the one-time expenses of shipping, of buying a car, or your ongoing expenses. And you can definitely do things to reduce your expenses, specifically when it comes to real estate. Thinking about buying versus renting, and we'll get into this in a few moments as well. Buying versus renting has a dramatic impact on your budget, on your financial situation. And so you want to think through the different options and make sure that you're picking the choice that is best suited for your budget and for your lifestyle. And the last thing with this topic is look for opportunities to supplement your income. There's a lot of ways to work part-time, to consult. There's a lot of opportunities to generate some additional income. So it's not just lowering your expenses, but also looking to increase your income so that you can do all the things that you want to do. The next thing to keep in mind is healthcare. And so there's a few important things to keep in mind here. First of all, picking the right HMO, or in Israel, it's called Kupat Cholim. So there's 4 companies that you can choose from. All of them are pretty much offer the same services. They're all regulated by the government. And so what you need to do is really decide which one is most suited for you, primarily by finding the adequate coverage. So you want to find doctors who speak your language in the area that you live. And if you do have special medical needs, then you want to find specialists that belong to that kupa, that belong to that HMO. So those are the 2 main drivers, the 2 main factors in choosing the right HMO, choosing the right kupat cholim. Another thing you want to keep in mind is because it's socialized medicine, things just take longer. Appointments take longer. So you want to make your appointments in advance. Once you get to Israel, find your doctors, make an appointment for a few weeks down the road, a few months down the road, and that way you won't have to rush when you need to see a doctor. And the last point here is thinking about your lifestyle. And what I recommend to people is to close your eyes for a moment and think about what you see when you step out of the door. Is it a beach? Are you walking out and you right into the beach, or are you living in an urban setting where it's buildings and buses and trains and stores? Do you want to live up north where it's more peaceful? Do you want to live in a suburban area? Do you want to live in the center of town? Do you want an Anglo community? Do you want a more religious community? All these are factors, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, that you should keep in mind when you're thinking about where you want to live. And of course, there's practical things like transportation, proximity to work and family that you want to keep in mind. The next topic is for families who are making Aliyah with kids. And there's a few things here that you need to keep in mind. So first of all, in the past, if you had children who were 10 years and older, then a lot of people would say, don't make Aliyah, it's too difficult for them. But now, because there's so many more programs, because there's so much more support, families are coming with older kids. In fact, 4 of our clients who we recently planned pilot trips are coming with children who are 14 and 15 and 16. And so from a social point of view and an academic point of view, it's a lot easier to come now with older children. And it's definitely something that you should keep in mind if you fall into that category. Another thing that we recommend is to learn Hebrew before you get here. Whether it's structural through like an Ulpan, or you go online and there's TV shows and there's music and there's websites and there's apps. There's so many ways to learn Hebrew. And if you can get a basic understanding of Hebrew, then it will really make your transition that much easier. And of course, your kids' transition that much easier as well. The next thing that you want to keep in mind is that schools here are different, not necessarily worse or better than what you're familiar with. It's just different. It's shorter school days, it's bigger classes, it's less formal. And so you just need to have the right expectations when you come here. And what you need to do is you need to be actively involved with your kids. And what that means is be in touch with the teachers, with the principal, with the guidance counselor. Be active, let them know that you're here. Don't be pushy, do it in a very nice way, but let them know that you're aware and you're advocating for your kids, because then your kids are more likely to get the support that they need. And the last thing, and this is so important, is have a positive attitude. There are going to be days, there are going to be weeks, they're going to be tough and challenging. And if you think to yourself that, you know what, today was tough, but tomorrow will be better, and this week was tough, next week will be better, you will get through those tough times, and your kids will see this, and they will internalize it, and they will mirror the behavior, your attitude, and that, more than anything else, will really help you get through those tough days and adjust to life in Israel. And the third topic that I want to talk about is really buying a home in Israel. And there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. The first thing is, like we talked about before, where do you want to move to? There's a lot of options. So where do you want to move to? Do you want to buy a rent? What's the process? What's the buying process like? And who can I trust? Who can I work with? So when it comes to where you want to buy, of course, this is probably one of the most important decisions. What I recommend to everyone is to create a list of preferences and prioritize. So is it based on schools? Is it based on location? Is it based on the makeup of the community? Is it an Anglo bubble, or more of a mix between Israelis and Americans? Is it secular? Is it religious? There are a lot of factors that go into it. Make that list prioritized and try to find communities that most match what you're looking for. The next thing is to buy a rent. And of course, two sides to a coin. So from a budget point of view, if you're going to buy, there's a big down payment that you have to put in, you have to put up, right? And then you look at it from an ongoing basis. Like I said before, the mortgage rates versus rentals. And Netanya, a mortgage broker, will talk about this in more detail in a little bit, right? The downside, of course, of renting, the upside of renting is that you have flexibility. So a lot of people, when they make Aliyah, they're not sure exactly where they want to settle. So you rent, and then 2-3 years down the road, you then buy. The upside of buying is that you have that security. You're not going to have your landlord call you and say, I'm sorry, I'm selling my apartment, selling my home, and you have to look for a new home. So these are things that you definitely need to keep in mind when you're deciding what you should do to buy or to rent. The buying process here is very different from the process that most people are familiar with. First of all, there's no central listing, there's no Zillow, there's no MLS. So you really need to work with a realtor who's well connected, a realtor who knows the area, that knows the different realtors, that can really help you find all the available properties that suit your needs and your budgets. Then once you find things that you like, you have to be able to move quickly, because things do sell quickly. Things that are priced right in good areas will sell much faster than other markets. And so that means if you want to have a mortgage, you have to have pre-approval for a mortgage. If you're going to transfer money to Israel, you have to have that process in place. You want to have a real estate lawyer in place. So there's a lot of moving parts that you want to keep in mind and do beforehand, so that when you do find something, you can put an offer and move forward. And the last thing is, there are a lot of options here, a lot of buying options. There's something called buying on paper, which is a building that's not ready yet. You can buy in the periphery. You can buy things that are being renovated or knocked down and rebuilt. And so the point here is, when you're looking to buy, really explore all the options, because you might not be aware of an option that might be perfect for you. And the last point here is, who can I trust? Who can I work with? And so there are a lot of options. There are a lot of realtors, a lot of lawyers, a lot of mortgage brokers, a lot of developers. You really want to do your due diligence. You want to get recommendations, and not just somebody who knows somebody else. You want to work with people who understand the mindset of somebody who's making Aliyah, somebody who's buying from abroad, or somebody who's living here already. You want to make sure that they understand the expectations that you have and the level of service that you deserve, and make sure that you're working with people that have been recommended. And last but not least, when it comes to developers, you want to make sure that you're working with developers who have a good reputation, that are bank guaranteed, so that if God forbid something goes wrong, you're taken care of. And that's really the point of working with the right team, to make sure that your interests are protected. Okay. Before I hand it over to the panel, I just want to lastly mention that there's a lot of free resources that we offer. So feel free to reach out to me. We have the Facebook group, we have WhatsApp group, we have different tips and different real estate tips and Aliyah tips. And the last thing I want to mention is, we are offering an exclusive offer for people who attend our webinar. If you sign up for one of our Aliyah packages within the next 2 weeks, we will give you 3 extra months of post-Aliyah support for free. So keep that in mind, and I look forward to talking to you and helping you guys accomplish what you're trying to do. Okay, with that, we're going to turn it over now to Harriet. Harriet, are you there?
I am here. Yes.
So Harriet lives in Jerusalem, and she has graciously agreed to join us and talk for a few minutes about why she chose to live in Jerusalem and a couple of tips that you might have for people who are making Aliyah.
Thanks, Rafi. I just want to put a plug in for these guys. They didn't ask us to do this, of course. I could not have done this without them. It was hard enough, even with them. I can only imagine what it would have been like if I didn't have my Olim advisor. So I really encourage all of you who are seriously considering making Aliyah to figure out one of the packages that is going to suit you and sign up. It's going to be well worth whatever shekels you pay. Okay. So I chose Jerusalem for a variety of reasons. I would say the main one being that Jerusalem is so full of cultural and religious opportunities that I don't think you find anywhere else in Israel. To me, it's kind of the happening place. I could go to an event every day and every evening and still not cover all of it. Cultural, music, lectures, poetry, Torah study, Talmud study, you name it, it's there for you. And in person, online, well, online you could get from anywhere, but a lot of in-person stuff. And one of the things that I think is really important about one of the tips that I was going to share is that I have found it really to be critical to be out in the community, to get involved, to go to music, to go to a variety of cultural events, to do whatever I can to feel like I really am living here and I'm really learning what it's like to be Israeli. It's one thing to observe from the US and do this and do that, but to be here and to participate, you start to get a feel for Israel at a very different level. And I think that that has helped me anyway in terms of my adjustment to being here. What else? The other thing about Jerusalem is that if it's important to you, there is a broad range of religious affiliations available to you. So, and the acceptance level is really high. So if you are secular or Reform, I'll share that I'm Reform. I have no problem finding community here. I have no problem finding a synagogue here that I can worship at. I can observe or not observe as I am moved, and it's all accepted. It's really been kind of stunning to me about how broad the opportunities are and how accepting everybody that I encounter seems to be about a broad range of religious affiliations. So I like that. The other thing is Jerusalem is a drop dead beautiful city. It's spiritual and it's holy and it's historical, and it to me embodies Judaism and Israel. You know, I'm old and I'm retired, but I didn't come here to just go hang out on the beach, which I know a lot of people are attracted to, and no aspersions cast. But I want to be where the center of Judaism and Israel is, and to me that is Jerusalem. And the other thing that I think is important and is kind of a tip as well, through a variety of circumstances, I already had some connections here. I came here alone. I have no family. I have no kids. I have nobody here that is related to me. I decided to make Aliyah for a variety of reasons. And I had, through, again, circumstances, made some connections with people here, with people that I felt simpatico with, to use a different language. And I felt like I had a core of a support system already here that I could build on. And if you're coming alone and you have some connections somewhere, I would advise it's a great way to start. It may not be where you stay, and I think I'm going to stay in Jerusalem, but having that connection, having people that you can socialize with, that you can ask questions of, that can help you navigate certain things, to me was really invaluable. So, and I just love the energy of a big city. So what can I say? I'm a big city kid. Okay, so tips. I can't emphasize enough that it's really important to recognize that it's going to take time to adjust to a new country, a new culture, a new language, a new bureaucracy, a new everything. I've been here almost 11 months, and I'm just finally starting to settle in and feel like I can navigate my way through, especially because I could read Hebrew when I got here. I knew a little bit of the of vocabulary. I didn't really know Hebrew, and that has been a huge barrier. And Rafi's suggestion earlier about learning Hebrew before you get here, I can't say enough about how important that is if you have the opportunity to do that. I'm just starting to learn, and at my age, who knows if I'll ever be able to discuss deep philosophical issues, but I will be able to get around. But again, it's going to take time to adjust. Don't base your decision about should I stay, should I leave, on, as he said, also a week here, a week there, a day here, a day there. Get involved in the community, and make it feel like you are part of, make it, kind of get immersed in the culture and like you are feeling Israeli. And I know we've got a time constraint. So the only other thing I'm going to say is, if you have an animal or animals that you totally adore, and you're thinking about leaving them in the US, I can tell you from personal experience, bring your animals. They will be a comfort to you and a familiarity to you that will be invaluable.
Great. Thanks so much, Harriet. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Ariel and Alon, you guys are up.
Hi, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run through a few points that it's important for us to make about real estate in Jerusalem and real estate in Israel in general. And then Alon is going to present a few properties specifically so you can get some idea of pricing. So the first point is that the prices of property in Israel always go up, and in Jerusalem even more so. They went up through the first Intifada, the prices went up through the second Intifada, and prices continue to go up during the current war. You can see the statistics in front of you, so I don't think I need to read them. The one interesting thing that's happening at the moment is that because prices are stable or going up and the transaction numbers are down, we have an interesting situation with developers who have cash flow problems, and they're not going to lower prices. So what they do is that they offer special offers where they finance your purchase. And so today there are opportunities where you can buy property with only 10% or 15% down. And Alon will talk a little bit more about that. He'll give you a specific example of that. Okay, so as Olim, do you have an advantage or a disadvantage? Again, I'm going to try and cut it short and say that in general, foreigners pay more tax than Israelis, and Olim pay less tax than Israelis. There's actually an announcement by the MOF, by the Ministry of Finance, just from last week, that they intend on giving additional discounts on purchase tax to Olim, but that hasn't actually happened yet. On the other end, veteran Israelis have some special discounts. There's Mechir Mishtaken, there's discounts for soldiers, which aren't suitable for Olim. So in summary, you'll be paying less tax, but you have less access to properties and less opportunities. Therefore, it is crucial to have a representative with boots on the ground so that when you find a property that's suitable for you, you can jump on it. Because if you take your time, an Israeli will step in and take the property. So it's important for you to have someone who's looking out for you in Israel. Okay, it's now a good time to buy. So reasons to wait. The mortgage rates are higher now than they have been in the past. And it goes without saying, but the political and security instability. Reasons to buy now is the prices will go up. I've been saying this for years to many Olim without fail. Prices keep on going up, and so it's only going to get worse because there's a property shortage, and the property shortage is getting worse. It's not getting better. That added to the developer deals that Alon is going to talk about. It's the right time to buy now. Buy now and not later, because next year your cash will just buy you less. Do you need to be in Israel to buy property? The answer is yes or no. Yes and no. Yes, you need to sign a contract in Israel, or at least have a lawyer in Israel with a general power of attorney. You can acquire that either by visiting Israel and giving power of attorney to a lawyer while you're here, or an attorney who could do that from afar or in the States. But you cannot buy property without either having a power of attorney or being in Israel at the time. No, because you don't need to come to Israel to see properties. Once you have a representative, once you've given power of attorney, everything else could be done online. We do many transactions with foreigners who don't actually come here for the purchase. With our virtual tour technology today, you can walk through the property. You can even measure the room to see that your bed fits in. And so once you've got the legal part out of the way, you don't need to be here to buy property. So what's your first step? So the first step is to find, as I said before, your representative. The person who's going to be looking out for you, so that when that property that's perfect for you comes on the market, you have someone who can move fast for you. In our office, we have 42 agents, each specialized in a focused area of Jerusalem. And so collectively, we have a lot of insight and expertise all over the city of Jerusalem. Almost all of our agents are either Olim or second generation Olim. And so we all understand where you're coming from. We have vast experience in helping people make Aliyah. I suggest that you look out on our website. We have a team page. You're likely to already know someone on our team. So where in Jerusalem? And that really depends on you. Jerusalem's a big city, as Harriet mentioned. Jerusalem has a lot to offer. There are different neighborhoods with completely different character. And you need to ask yourself, what's important to you? Are you looking for a new build or classic Jerusalem houses? Which community do you want to belong to? Do you have family or friends that already live somewhere that you want to be close to? Will you have a car, or are you independent on public transportation? Are you buying to visit and come a few times a year? Are you looking to move? Are you looking to invest? I think the first thing that you should do is have a conversation with a real estate agent who can ask you all these questions and sort of minimize the areas in Jerusalem that are relevant to you and make your decision easier. Okay, so what can you buy? We chose for tonight to do something different to what we usually do. Instead of showing you a category, for example, a 3-bedroom apartment in different neighborhoods, what we're trying to do is we took a target budget, a 1.25 million US dollars, which is our sweet spot. That's the number that we find most people are coming on Aliyah are looking at. And what Alon is going to do is going to show you at that budget, what can you buy in different neighborhoods of Jerusalem. And so I'm handing it over to Alon.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my name is Alon Ben David, and I grew up in Yerushalayim. Love Yerushalayim. I know Yerushalayim very well, and I also love helping people buying property in Yerushalayim, especially help Olim find their place in Yerushalayim. It gives me tremendous satisfaction, which is really combining satisfaction in business. That's what I do. So I'm going to go through highlights of properties in a few different neighborhoods, and I'm going to show a little bit of the different neighborhoods that we have. I take example of Givat Avradim. Givat Avradim is right by west of Katamon, and you would find properties there that would the same property like this in Katamon would cost more. So here, for example, we have 4 bedrooms. We have 123 square meters that does stand for 1,324 square feet, and 2 balconies. One of them have sukkah and parking. To realize that parking is not something that we always have, so it's a big advantage. Let's go to the next neighborhood. We are in Amar Nativ. We're going a little bit further out, actually east direction. And because we're going further out, we get more for our money. We can have 150 square meters, which gives 1,614 square feet. And also, in addition, we can get a private garden and, of course, parking. I want to stress that there are quite a few Olim that have started already going into this neighborhood because it's right near Arnona, which is right near Baka. All these neighborhoods that are very popular by the new Olim. The next neighborhood I want to go is the upscale. We're going into what we call location. Chavia, we all know, is someplace that people really like to live in. Here we get 2 bedrooms. 89 square meters is 958 square feet. This particular apartment has a very large living room and a fantastic view of the Knesset and the Israeli Museum. Really beautiful piece of property. But I want to mention the other option that we have, and that's going into a new project. When you go into a new project, you don't particularly buy something that is ready. Actually, most of the time, you buy something which is not ready yet. And there are a few advantages to that. I'm going to mention some of them. For example, right in this particular project that we see in front of us, the Kidmat Yovel in Kiryat Yovel. Kiryat Yovel is located a little bit further after Beit Vagan, as you can see in terms of location. So the road over on the side is the same road that has the light rail that goes to the existing light rail will go all the way to Hadassah, and then there's going to be another light rail right in front of this project. So the location is really fantastic. Now, take a stage before that. Just want to mention that in stage 2, what we saw before, already 50 families from Miami have bought into stage 2. So we actually do have an idea of Olim that are probably going to come and move into this particular project. But let's take an example of one of the apartments. That's what the slide we showed before. So we have a 5-room with 133 square meters, which is the 1,432 square feet. And of course, we have the balcony and the storage and the parking and really and you get a new, fresh apartment, which will be ready in either we go in stage 2, which is going to be in 2 years, or in stage 3, which is going to be another 4 years. Now, the big advantage of going into this is also that you only pay, for example, 20% upon purchase, but you lock in the price for until the apartment is ready. You have to pay the rest only 3 months before delivery, and this is really something fantastic because you pay 20%, but you get 100% of the added value that will be while you're waiting for the apartment to be ready. Because we all know that the prices are going to go higher, and this way you really secure yourself in a very good way. So obviously, this is not the only development. There's quite a few projects around Yerushalayim. There's quite a few neighborhoods in Yerushalayim. I didn't mention Ramat Eshkol and Ramot and other places that maybe refer to more Haredi community. We take care of all of you. I'll be really happy if you want to call me on personally and ask for some advice of what's suitable for you. I'm always there for you.
I'm just going to summarize what the last thing that Alon said. we started, the first point that I made was that it's important to buy now. Prices are going up. And with this special situation with developers who are willing to sell apartments for 15% or 20% down, the advantage is that you lock in a price. You put in your 15%. If you're not coming on Aliyah tomorrow morning, if you're going to wait 2, 3, 4 years, you'll enjoy from the increase in prices with that time. And when you come on Aliyah, you'll sell this one and buy wherever you choose to live. So it's a good opportunity now to lock in prices for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arya. Thank you, Alon. Okay, now we're going to move over to Netanya, and we'll start with Shaya. Shaya is a resident of Netanya. Hi, Shaya. Shaya, are you there? I think you might be on mute.
No, Shaya, we don't hear you.
I think you're on mute, Shaya. Let's see.
Oh,
No, we still can't hear you.
Shaya, do you have earphones maybe on?
We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Shaya, we can't hear you. I'm not sure. Okay, well, we'll have to move on. Shaya, if you can try there, and if you can come back on, just speaking to the mic if you want to try, and if we get it to work, then we can get you get your input. So let's move over to Darren Rich, who's the realtor in Netanya.
Evening, everybody, or good morning, wherever you are. So, as Rafi says, my name is Darren Rich. We're from Home in Israel, Keller Williams in Netanya. I've been in Israel 17 years and worked in the area of Netanya almost since day one. And whatever everyone said up till now about learning Hebrew is 100% because I've also been there. So as we can read here, a little bit about us and our team. We market and sell new properties. We sell resale homes. We help people renting. And we take a lot of pleasure out of not just selling, if it's renting. We want to help people make Aliyah and come to live in Israel without having problems that maybe some of us have experienced. So we try and iron out all the creases before people come and make the process simple. Okay, so this is a little bit about our vision, integrity, which is, to us, is very, very important. We only do what is best for the client. If something is not good, we are not embarrassed to say, please don't do it. We've been going a long, long time. We have a good name, and integrity is above anything, and knowledge, obviously. Okay, this is a map of Netanya. Okay, everywhere where we see the red arrows are the areas. So if we go from right to left, we're looking at Ramat Poleg, Iriamim. Then we move further north to an area called Agamim. A little bit further north is South Beach, which has got all the hotels and everywhere. And you've got all central Netanya, and then the north of Netanya, which is around Nitza Boulevard. Then you've got an industrial area a little bit further east, and an area called Kiryat Sharon, which is in the east. That's basically in a small map the different areas, although there are lots more, but these are the main areas where people either make Aliyah or non-Israelis choose to live. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we're gonna start talking a little bit about various areas. I'm a firm believer of location. Location has to be to suit the person looking to live there, whether it's a rental or purchase. It doesn't really matter. It's the same location. The community is crucial, and the area suits the financial needs, the social needs, the age that they've got children, and it suits everything. So here we're looking at, on the bottom of the screen is Ramat Poleg, which is an existing area of more than 40 years ago. There are houses and apartments. And incidentally, this area is the only area in Netanya that's not built on a cliff. So access from one place to another is really, really, really easy. So in Eytan, we see we have the Young Israel Shul, which is a really nice community. It's got a really nice rabbi there. It's really, really popular with non-Israelis and Israelis, of course. Supermarket and shops. We've got lots of those, lots of bakeries, everything. So if we look to the top of the screen there, this is a place called Eytan. Incidentally, I live in this area, so I'm very knowledgeable on it. When I made Aliyah 17 years ago, it was just sand. So now this is a pretty updated picture, and you can see everything we have here. And the community, which is really important to anybody considering making Aliyah or even using it as a holiday home or part or whatever. There's a huge Anglo community. A lot from America, from Canada, South Africa, England, and then bits and pieces from Australia and other countries. Just recently, you can see in the top right, it says high school and shul. There's a new community developed there, started from nothing. Got their own rabbi now, own Sefer Torah. Fantastic. So you can see by here, we've got all the Chabad, we've got restaurants, cafes, everything's kosher. So I can talk more about this, but we'll move on, Rafi. Okay. As a guideline for homes in the area I'm in, the prices start from around about the 4.2 million shekels, which is for about 130 meters. It can be three bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. In Israel, we sell by the rooms. So the specific one we see here was originally 5 rooms. It was changed to 3. The view to the sea we can see. It's completely flat. So there's 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. And if this was to be rented out, which it could be, the price will be 8,500 shekels a month. And the vadbayit, which is the monthly maintenance, is 560 shekels a month here. And the arnona, which is municipality, is 1,800 shekels for 2 months, that's based on pure meterage. So this gives you an idea. There was an elevator for Shabbat in every building in Eytan. Ramat Poleg is around about 20% cheaper. Okay, as we move further north, we're in an area called Agamim. So we're a little bit further back from the sea, and we're situated where the cliff is. The winter park is called because during the winter when it rains, it creates a lake. And when it stops raining in about March, April, it turns into a park again. It's a nice area, it's a modern area, it's a clean area, there's a shopping center, there's a shul close by, and it is possible to walk to Poleg Eytan. It's probably a 20-minute walk, but it's becoming more popular for non-Israelis to make Aliyah. We've just helped several people make Aliyah there, and they seem happy. Okay, then we move further north to an area which is Nitza Boulevard. It's the north area of Netanya. For anyone that knew Netanya 30, 40 years ago, before Eytan and the rest of Netanya was built, this is where everybody came on holiday, and people made Aliyah. This is where they came to. So as you can see, it's built on a cliff. There's a very, very nice shul here. It's Young Israel. It's very popular. Lots of people come here. There's another shul called the McDonald's Shul. There's a walkway down to the beach by stairs. There is an elevator in town. There's a few shuls here. There's a Young Israel. There's a McDonald's. There's 2 Chabad houses. Everybody finds one of those shuls to suit their needs. Okay. In this area, this is 300 meters from the water. It's a mini penthouse in a building of 2 years old, a building built by a company called Israel. And this apartment is on floor 25. It's 4 bedrooms, 5 rooms with 3 bathrooms. And you can see the sea view is phenomenal. And it has a balcony for Sukkot. this is a building or project that's been particularly popular with people from North America and Canada and England. Some are living here, some are not quite made Aliyah, but it's proven to be a very popular complex. Okay, next, Rafi.
Do you want this slide or the next one?
Yeah, I've got my phone went there. Okay, here we are. Okay, this area is the eastern Netanya. Okay, this is away from the water, and this is a place called Kiryat Sharon. This area won a prize for the best designed area in the whole of Israel when it was built, and it's still really, really popular. It's very close to the train station, and as we can see in the middle here, there's a big, big forest. And I've highlighted at the top a northern area with an English speaker, with an Anglo shul, which is really popular with English speakers. A lot of young families move here. There's a big WhatsApp group. It's an outstanding area for young religious families, non-religious families to live. There's lots and lots of kids here, and access to everything is really close by. There's shopping, there's shuls, there's gyms, there's colleges, everything. It's really, really nice area to live in. Okay.
Is that it?
That's it. So I've gone through a big city in a very short period of time. It's difficult to explain everything. We market apartments, or we sell apartments, rental apartments all over Netanya. We're involved in many building contracts, many building developers, and we're involved in all sorts of some ready in 2 years, some 5 years. And as Ariel said about the payment terms on new construction at the moment, it's a particularly good time to get involved because it is going to change, and it hasn't happened before. If anyone's considering it, the worst thing that can possibly happen is they don't like the area, but they'll make money on it, and they'll have the money in shekels, and they'll be able to move on. So on that note, thank you for listening, and we'll move on to the next person. Thank you, Rafi.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you. So now we're going to talk about Nahariya, and specifically Achziv within Nahariya. So I'd like to welcome Karen and Artie, who are residents and just made Aliyah just a little while ago.
Yes, we've made Aliyah 5 weeks ago. Our apartment in Achziv is still being built at this point. We are living right now in Haifa. We would not be able to have made Aliyah without Olim advisors. They were there before we left the US. They were with us as we flew to the US, and they've been with us since we've gotten here. They're an amazing group of people. Their professionalism, their family feeling, is just amazing.
Thank you.
We did a pilot trip a little over a year ago, and we rented a car, drove in 10 cities. We were all over the country. We chose Nahariya Achziv area because there is a growing Anglo community. There's hospitals, there's transportation. We had a whole list, as Rafi said, of things that we wanted in an area. And as opposed to Harriet in Jerusalem, Darren in Netanya, we wanted a smaller, quieter community to retire to. And that was the main reason why we chose the Nahariya Achziv area. We will be about 400 meters from the beach, which is something that was very important to us as well. Let's see. Again, the communities in the Nahariya area are smaller. They're the whole range from Reform through Orthodox, shopping, healthcare, all of it's available. The downtown area of Nahariya is absolutely beautiful. You can walk the main streets there and find gift shops, coffee shops, restaurants, bakeries. And did I mention the beach? The beach is right there too.
We also had a few tips. We're making Aliyah, particularly with just a few week focus. I would say start decluttering early. Moving was quite a production. And the time as you get closer to Aliyah starts getting faster and faster. So the sooner you can do that, the better. Of course, as everyone said, learn as much Hebrew as possible. We also found that learning how to drive on roundabouts would really be helpful because you're going to have a lot of them in Israel. Reading as much as you can about your requirements for Aliyah, depending on what country you come from, is really important. Asking a lot of questions, having the team that Olim Advisor put together for us has been invaluable, and we rely on them so much, and it's been so helpful. We really recommend a pilot trip. That was very, very instrumental in helping us make a decision where we wanted to live. We're finding having the Anglo or English speaking community has been really important. When we've first gotten here, there's so many decisions, so many new things that you're experiencing that's been really helpful. Also, we had established a relationship with IsraTransfer. We had moved money ahead of our Aliyah, and I highly recommended that. It made landing here so much easier, just a better feeling that we had some presence, that we could take care of ourselves when we first got here. That was wonderful. And lastly, I'd say don't worry. We worried. But when we got here, what we found is that we felt like we were on angels' wings. Like we were just floating through the process. There was somebody taking care of us. And when you see the big smiles on Israeli faces when you say you've just made Aliyah, it's the most precious feeling. And you know you've done the right thing.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you so much, Artie. All right, Eliran, you're up for presenting the neighborhood.
Hey guys, thank you, Karen and Artie. I think that you said enough, but I will add a little bit. I'm managing the project of Achziv. Achziv is a whole community and neighborhood that is built in the north of Nahariya, separate 3.5 kilometers. Sorry, there is an airplane, so maybe you hear it now. I'll wait a second so it moves. Actually, this whole neighborhood is being built by two of the top 5 companies in Israel, Electra Residence as an entrepreneur, and also Tzemach Hammerman, that are both public and, again, top 5 companies in Israel. So as of security and the quality of construction, you can reassure that this is a good project. Both of the companies are building national-wide, but I will focus on the area of this project. As everyone said, there are a lot of places to live in Israel. This is, let's say, like Cannes or Nice, if we take it to equivalent France. It will be the area that you will enjoy the nature and the beaches. Quick drive, and you can go everywhere. If it's the Nahal Hardalit, or if it's going to the beach and the lagoons and the Rosh Hanikra. I will not go through this topic without saying that the north is a difficult place to be at this point, and it's important to say that Achziv is existing since 48 and even before that. And we had good times and we had bad times. I'm working in Achziv daily now, and there are less alarms or threatening things that you see in Tel Aviv, that you will see in Tel Aviv or anywhere else. So the being in the north and this time, I think it's also very important for people that are doing Aliyah to come and go to the more important areas. I'm not saying anything bad about Jerusalem or Netanya or anywhere else in Israel, but I think making the north stronger and being there is just doing the right thing for Israel. But again, out of security for my kids and to my family, I stay there all the time and I feel very comfortable. So I will leave this point there. Regarding Achziv, Achziv is the brand, okay, in Israel. I don't know if it went so far in the last few years. We saw a lot of people coming from all over the world, from France and from the US and from the UK and even from Morocco, Jewish people that are buying here in order to come as a vacation house for themselves or a second residence in Israel or as a residence like Karen and Artie just made. And I'm happy about it because since the 70s, 60s that people were partying in Achziv, this brand is actually part of the Israeli culture. I think it's the most beautiful beach in Israel. Maybe if we all agree is in the top 3. Lagoons and an island in front of your balcony. That's what you will see if you will come here. And in this opportunity, I'm inviting all of you to come and see it for yourself. A good time of the year, just starting now. The water is clear. The islands are amazing. The photos that you see in front of your screen, this is what we live in. And this is suitable for people that want to live in this way, not buses, more waves and birds. And if you want a forest or a river. So I moved from Tel Aviv after 15 years in Tel Aviv with my whole family to this area, and I feel whole, and I feel this is the place that I want for my family and for my quality of life. There are water sports and attractions. This whole area of the West Galilee is very touristic from Israelis and from outside of Israel. So people come in this time of the year from now until the end of the summer, October, November, and do water sports and do traveling and hiking, Park Achziv, and very wonderful to come there. Regarding the neighborhood, if you can go 2 slides down, yeah, a little bit. Another one. Last one down. Yes, perfect. This will give you a quick view about the neighborhood. I will not focus about the certain stage that we're marketing right now because we're building here more than 1,000 units, and it's a mega project companies. This whole neighborhood is being built by us, and right now we're in midway. So it means there are a lot of opportunities from now on. We're now currently building the 3rd stage of the neighborhood, and we're quite soon will launch. I'm talking about weeks or a month from now. We will launch another phase to the air, and we'll continue. We bought a new land the last year, and this whole structures of buildings that you're seeing is being made by Electra and Tzemach. Just the villas that you see in the downstairs, not downstairs, down below, are being built by everyone privately. But the whole buildings that you see here, more than 1,000 units, is being built by us. On the north side of us, you see Banana Beach, or its other name, Achziv. Achziv Beach is very famous among the northern community, and also people come here to Achziv Park. Also, if you heard about Club Med, it was here before. So it's the structures that you will see on the north side of the beach. We're sitting on a private, not a private, it's for everyone, but we're sitting on the National Reserve of Achziv. It starts in the beginning of the neighborhood and it ends in Rosh Hanikra. And this is a whole experience of walking with your kids or with your grandkids or with yourself and going 3, 4, 5 minutes if you walk slowly and getting to the beach without cliffs or nothing, just with a baby stroller if you need to. And it's very nice to go and sit in the lagoons there. There is also a boardwalk, of course, that connects, that is with the neighborhood and will be connected to Nahariya. Our audiences are very people that are towards pension or people that want to relax and had a house and want to come and be and have a good pension, like I say, or young couple with a little bit more from the north area that has the orientation of living in the nature and growing up kids in this area. We have kindergartens here. We have a shul, synagogue, a shul that gives services to everyone in the neighborhood. There will be a school, elementary school in the future. I don't know when exactly, because we're not responsible for schools, but right now they do buses that go every morning, and like you have it in the US, I estimate, and connects to the schools and everything. Also, there is a commercial center that will be open in the next year or so. That is already on construction, and there are 4 passages that leads you to the beach through the National Reserve, and also the train is very close, about 20 minutes with the bus that goes every 20 minutes into Achziv and takes you to the train, and from the train you can go everywhere. What else I will tell you? I think that I said enough regarding the neighborhood, but I will give a little bit more point of view about the community, because this is you will get me more than Israel is, but it's a closed complex. Okay, there is a lot of it in the US, so I think that you will understand me a little bit better, because it's distance from Nahariya at 3.5 kilometers north. The community went stronger and stronger, and people got familiar with one another, and there's a lot of activities. Also, there is a community center and the synagogue and the WhatsApp group that if you want to join, you will have a lot of things around. But there are parties in the summer, and there are parties in Purim, and there are parties in the end of the summer, and in Shavuot it looks like a kibbutz. So it's like an urban moshav or urban kibbutz, because it combines also nature, also community, and to be close to the beach. So there are not enough words for me to really describe. What I really think that is a good thing to do is, when you come, or if you come to Israel, come and visit us, because you will understand the whole pictures by landing here. Although Karen and Ari didn't come before, I hope that when they did, they saw it for themselves. The whole community is, the whole neighborhood has now a lot, but it will have much more, and this is exactly where the opportunity is. When the neighborhood itself is adding in new projects and the construction is in progress, the prices, if we take it apart from the prices in Israel that always go up, like my colleague just said, in neighborhoods that are under development and being built, there is much more potential profit from price range, and also the chance of the prices to go up are much higher, because every new step that we're opening, every new project that we're opening in Achziv will be in higher prices than the previous one. And this is an opportunity to jump on the train and get the prices with you and not against you. I think said enough.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Let's just see. Okay, now we're going to hand it over to Tamar Cohen, who's a resident of Modiin.
Thank you very much. I wanted to share just a little bit about Modiin, where we live. We made Aliyah from London 1.5 years ago. I think feels sometimes less and sometimes more, but it was 1.5 years ago. And we came with children aged 14 down to 5, and with my grandmother in her 80s. And we chose Modiin because of this soft landing, which it gave us as a family. We were given lots of feedback from people we spoke to about finding a place that was good for our teenagers. But aside from that, that's not the reason we chose Modiin. But aside from that, Modiin is perfectly located in terms of its distance, easily by train to Yerushalayim, only 34 minutes, in the airport, which I think is about 22 minutes, and a beach, you can get to Pamlachim Beach 32 minutes away. So it's really, really perfectly located, and the transportation on the train is great, but that's not why we chose Modiin. And we chose it because it was an excellent place for our teenagers. It's a hard age to bring kids. I guess any age is hard, but these were fully grown up and developed, free thinking young adults, and they all had their own strong opinions about making Aliyah. We wanted to find a place where they would all find their feet fairly quickly, and they have done it amazingly well. And so Buchman for us was an amazing, warm community of Olim. Everyone here has been through it before. You kind of fall right into an instant network of support. And so for us, Modiin has been the perfect place for us to land. There's a lot of new communities growing in Modiin. So if you're not so interested in the very, very overwhelmingly Anglo aspect of Buchman, which is, I think, if there's any Brits on here, well, it's a bit Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. It is very Anglo. And there are in Modiin lots of different communities, and many have limited Anglo, and many have, you know, kind of balance between the two. And so for us, Modiin was a real kind of perfect baseline for everybody. I work in Ramat HaSharon, which is kind of near Ra'anana, so it's about an hour. It takes me about an hour up on the 6 every day. It's very, very doable. It's the only time I'm on my own in my entire lifetime, and I enjoy it very much. The 6 is not all that bad. I had a few tips that I wanted to share. Lots of people have already shared wonderful tips. Of course, the safety net that Olim Advisors offers you. For us, you know, we had a little bit of a rocky start from a medical perspective, and I really don't think we would have been able to have been successful in our Aliyah if we didn't have the support of the Olim Advisors, who are friends now. They're much more than, you know, the Olim Advisors that we signed up to. They're personal friends who, you know, who I would call if I needed help, and who I hope would call if they needed help too. My advice would be, you know, that you don't have to do it on your own. Aliyah is hard. It's hard enough. You know, you don't win a prize for doing it completely on your own. So take the help that's there. If you're coming with families, we found it was very important to be open and transparent with our children about why we were making Aliyah. We really included them in the process. We wanted them to know the reasons that we thought it would be good for us as a family. We were clear that it was our decision, as much as they were involved in the decision making. They really weren't at the end of the day. But we explained to them very clearly why we were doing it and what those challenges that they might face were. It was our personal decision not to give them a sort of out, that it was a trial. We were very clear that this was a decision we were making, and it was somewhere that we were going to be permanent. I have found, both in my professional capacity, but also in this way, that if you give children that out, it makes it much easier for them not to settle into their new life, because they continue to think, oh, well, I don't really need to settle here because I could go back to my home at the end of the year. And I have found that doesn't always help your kids. My kind of final 2 pieces of advice is copy everything 1,000,000 times. If Olim Advisors suggest you need three copies of your passport, do it 6. Just have it, be ready. Somebody's going to ask for it. You're going to be grateful that you have it. And if they don't ask for it, it's not going to harm very much, besides for the environment and a little bit that you did it. Really, really have it, be organized, be ready to share it, because there are a lot of appointments to go to, and everybody kind of wants all the same information. So be ready to share it. For us, as I mentioned, we had faced a little bit of a medical emergency very, very shortly after. We didn't do this, but it would have been, in hindsight, tremendously useful to have really had all of our past medical records really, really handy. We did have basic things that we brought from us, information from the UK, but it wasn't nearly enough. And so we were left scrambling to kind of try and gather the information. So while you have the time before you make Aliyah, start getting your doctor's records, start finding out your kids' immunization things, and kind of have those things ready, so that they're there. And my final bit of advice is to find a real estate agent that you trust. We were very fortunate, you'll meet Rebecca in a minute, to have somebody who we trusted her. Well, my husband came to visit, but we trusted her to tell us where to live, basically. We trusted her in terms of the house that was right for us. I wasn't in the country at all. I didn't see the property until after we'd signed on a lease. And, you really have to have a good relationship with the person you're entrusting with your future. And so find someone you trust. And in Modiin, that's definitely Rebecca.
What a great intro. Thank you so much, Tamar. And Rebecca, on to you.
Wow, thanks. Hi, everyone. So do you want to go down? Yeah, I'm Rebecca Franks. I'm with Abayat Shalanu in Modiin. One thing I'll say is you've heard, different cities presented. What's nice about Israel is that you really can't go wrong. So whichever city you pick, you'll think is the best of all worlds, because it will be where you choose to call home. It'll be where your friends are. It'll be where your network is. And really, living in Israel is the ultimate decision that you're making, and it's the best decision. And I hope you pick Modiin, but wherever you pick, it will be the best of all worlds for you. So we actually moved to Modiin just under 8 years ago. We came here for a year, just so our kids could learn Hebrew, make friends. We picked Modiin because it was a new modern city by design in between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. We knew there were a lot of Anglos here, which for us was a major draw because we were coming with kids that didn't speak Hebrew, and my husband doesn't speak Hebrew. And we really came for a year so our kids could have the experience of life in Israel. And not knowing a single person in Modiin and having never ever been here before, within 2 weeks, we were already feeling at home. And within 2 months, we decided 1 year wasn't long enough. It should be 2 years. And within 6 months, we sold our home in Florida and bought a home in Modiin and made it our forever home. So I can say from firsthand experience, and I can echo what Tamar says, you really can't go wrong whichever neighborhood you pick in Modiin. It's a lovely place to be. And a year after we moved here, my parents also moved here. And they're retirees in their 80s, and they also feel very happy here. So when you're looking for a home in Modiin or anywhere in Israel, but I'll focus on Modiin. First thing you need to do is pick a neighborhood. Modiin is comprised of all different neighborhoods that really appeal to different demographics and different backgrounds. And the first thing we need to do is brainstorm what's helpful for you and what you're looking for in a community so we can find the right neighborhood to suit your family needs. Then you need to figure out your budget. I mean, different budgets will have different kinds of properties. So some people who are looking for larger homes might use that as a directive for picking a neighborhood. Some people who have limited budgets might use that as their directive for picking a neighborhood. But we need to figure out a budget so we can have a realistic expectation of the type of home you could get. And then we prioritize your needs. How many bedrooms do you need? How many bathrooms do you need? Are you okay with a balcony, or do you need a garden? And we'll kind of hone the search a little bit around what your personal home needs are. And then time frame. When you're buying in Israel, oftentimes you're buying now for a move-in date in the summer. And sometimes you can be buying a home a year in advance of moving here. And it's just kind of the nature of buying over here. There's no quick turnaround. So when we figure out your timeline, if you're planning to move for in a year or in 2 years or in 6 months, it's always good to get started sooner rather than later so we can find a home that the times will match your needs. There are different styles of homes in Modiin, which I think is a nice feature of the city. So there are the nicest homes, or the biggest homes, I should say, which are the semi-detached houses. There aren't a lot of those. There aren't a lot of house-type properties, but they are the most desirable and therefore the most expensive, and they tend to be the largest. So a house is where you have usually a semi-detached house is usually one shared wall. They're the largest properties. You usually have a driveway and a private entrance. Then there are cottages, and people often ask me what defines a cottage. So a cottage feels like a house because you have your own private entrance, but they're usually in between two hills, two roads going down the hill. So you normally go down a few stairs and you turn into your cottage. So Tamar is renting in a cottage right now. And they tend to be, it feels like a house for all intents and purposes. You have a garden usually, and you have your own entrance, and you have nobody above you, but you don't have the driveway and the kind of the feel of pulling up to your house. And then there are duplexes, which are two-floor apartments, and they can be in bigger or smaller buildings. It depends on the property, and they can either have a garden or a balcony. It depends on the duplex. And then an apartment is just a one-floor apartment. So you'll be in a building. Some buildings in Modiin are tall buildings, some are smaller buildings. It depends on the neighborhood you're in and the style of property, but you can find various apartments. Okay, so this is just a general map of Modiin. I put in English on there some of the more popular Anglo neighborhoods. So Tamar mentioned that she lives in Bochum, which is at the bottom of the map. If you go further up, you'll see an area called Dimri. Dimri tends to, in fact, Tamar's grandma lives in Dimri. Dimri tends to be popular with a lot of seniors who move here. And then you'll see above that to the left is Shimshani and Kaiser. And they're two neighboring areas. They're a little bit interchangeable in terms of the kind of demographic that they attract. It really depends on where you find a property. But Kaiser tends to be a very popular neighborhood also. Next to that is Maresky. Maresky is the newest neighborhood in Modiin. It's still being built, but a lot of people have already started moving in. It's a very big new area, mainly high-rise buildings. And Nofim was the prior neighborhood, which is already established. It's a new neighborhood, but it's already established and complete, and also tall buildings and very popular with Anglos. So I just kind of wanted to focus on the four main neighborhoods that seem to be very popular with Anglos moving here, although this is just kind of a tip of the iceberg in terms of the different communities in Modiin. So Kaiser tends to attract families with kids under 15. There's a very large Anglo shul here called Darkei Zion. There's a lot of activities. Kaiser is popular also for people because we're walking distance to the main train. Like Tamar said, you can get to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, the airport very easily by train. It's walking distance to the pool, to the center of town. They've developed this whole new center of town in Modiin with restaurants and cafes. So a lot of people like it for those reasons. Buchman, which is where what Tamar mentioned, she lives, tends to attract people with kids over the age of 8. So when she was moving here with teenagers, it's a good fit because a lot of the Buchman families have older kids. And there are 2 sides to Buchman. There's Moriah and Shvatim. They just kind of are defined by the different styles of properties, but they're all close by. And there's one large main Anglo shul in Buchman called KSYM. And most of the areas in Buchman are walkable onto the other. Nafim is the newer neighborhood that I mentioned. It tends to attract people with kids under 6. It's a younger community because it has a lot of bigger parks and newer feel to the apartments. So Nafim is becoming more and more popular. It doesn't have a strong Anglo presence yet, but it's starting to attract a lot more Anglo families. So I think that's going to be increasingly popular with people with young kids. And then Dimri, which isn't really a neighborhood, it's kind of a complex in the Shimshoni neighborhood. But everyone refers to it as Dimri. It's one of the kind of quintessential buildings that you see in Modiin, and that tends to attract seniors, people who want to retire to Israel, because it's super convenient to all of the walking a few minutes walk to the train. It's got its own shul within the buildings, and the apartments tend to be bigger than other 5-room apartments in the city. And it's a very social dynamic to the building. So people pop from one to the other to visit friends. And it has a very, very big draw for people, I guess, from 55 to 100. So, Rafi suggests I give you a few examples of properties throughout Modiin. So I just picked the more popular neighborhoods just to give you a sense of what you could possibly buy that's on the market right now. So Kaiser, this is a cottage. Actually, today I signed, my clients bought a cottage just like this today. They signed the contract now through power of attorney, which I know Rafi had mentioned earlier. They bought this on video. They bought a similar one to this on video. They're in America and they're moving to Modiin. And we did a video tour of the property and they bought it. So people are doing that from afar. It's a 5-room cottage, and as somebody had mentioned previously, here one of the rooms is the living room. So it means it's 4 bedrooms. It has a 46-meter garden, a 25-meter balcony, and a rooftop area as well. There's 2 parking spots, 2 storage units, and this particular one is available in February 2025. And it's asking around $1.3 million. Oh, that's okay, you can go on. This is an example of a property in Buchman. Buchman tend to have some larger homes, which makes it a popular area for people with bigger families or who need more space. This is a cottage, also it's on Rachel. It's 6 rooms, so that means 5 bedrooms. It has a 120-meter garden with beautiful open views. It has 2 parking spots, which are actually undercover. So some people close off those parking spots and make it into like an enclosed garage, and they tend to use that as an added room and turn it into a den. It's got 2 storage units, and this one's available this summer. And it's asking around $1.8 million, which is 6.67 shekels. It's one of the, it's a bigger property because it has nice outdoor space and indoor space, and it's a lovely property. This is an example of a property in Nafim. Nafim, like I said, tends to be more apartments. It's mostly apartments. This one is a 5-room apartment. It's got a 16-meter balcony, 2 parking spots and 1 storage unit, and is available this summer. It's asking $1.16 million, so 4.27 million shekels. And it's right near the one of the most popular streets in Nafim neighborhood because it slopes around the popular park, and there's a lot of kids and playgrounds around them. And then this is Dimri. This is the area in the center of town that I said is popular with a lot of seniors who move here. This particular one is on the 10th floor. It's a 5-room apartment. So that means 4 bedrooms. It's 14-meter balcony, 2 parking spots, 1 storage unit, and it's available in August. This is asking $1.1 million, just over 4 million shekels. There are 2 different sides to Dimri. So there's one side of the building that has slightly smaller apartments, one side of the building that has slightly larger apartments. They don't come on the market that often because they're, you know, very desirable among the demographic, and people kind of wait for these to come on the market. This is the larger model, which is why it's a little bit more expensive. The slightly smaller model would probably be cost a little bit less. But what's nice about it is it's fully accessible from all directions, from the street, from the parking, and you can really walk to the center of town, walk to the mall, to the pool. And most people are drawn to it for the level of community that it affords you within the buildings themselves. And then, you know, we've done some talking about buying on paper. There is a project on paper just outside of Modiin. So this isn't in Modiin proper. It's a new issue called Mavo Modiin, and they're in the midst of leveling the ground and are about to start building over there. It's about a 5-minute drive from the Yishuv to Modiin proper. They're going to be selling 5 to 6 room townhouses, garden apartments, and penthouse duplexes. And they're doing pre-sale prices there, which are starting at 4.95 million shekels, which is around $1.35 million. And again, like people have said, when you buy on paper, same thing applies, that you can do the 20% down now, 80% when on key, and this project will be ready in about 2.5 years. Also, if you're thinking about moving to Modiin, I just wanted to point out that we have a Modiin real estate WhatsApp group. It's a great way to kind of get familiarity with property prices in the neighborhood, get a sense of what properties are coming on the market, hear about the latest news in Israel that as it pertains to real estate, and just to get some lay of the land on Modiin real estate. So I'll sign off by saying that I think Modiin is a lovely place to live. I think the neighborhoods really attract a nice variety of people, and it's important to find the right neighborhood and the right fit for you. So if you're considering the city, I'm happy to chat with you and brainstorm which would be a good area for you and help you find whether it's for investment, whether it's to live, or whether it's to rent. We can find you the right home. Good luck.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, Eytan, you're up.
All right, thanks, Rafi. So I have the joyous task of explaining mortgages. And I want to start off by saying I'm going to be pretty brief, just to be respectful of everybody's time. Obviously, there's a lot to get into. And if there's questions, you can write in the chat. You can reach out, WhatsApp, email. Rafi can give contact information. What I'm going to try and accomplish is just go over kind of the basic differences between a mortgage, what you're used to, and mortgages here in Israel. On a fundamental level, it's the same. You want to buy a home, you need to get financing, the bank wants to have some sort of collateral, and you each go kind of your own way. You pay your monthly payments, and that's really what a mortgage looks like. But once you get into the details, you can tell that there are a lot of differences. If we can just go to the next slide, I'm going to use the 30-year fixed rate as kind of a anchor for what people are used to. Obviously, if you're coming from different countries around the world, then you understand what it means to have a variable rate, right? Fixed for 2 years, fixed for 5 years, whatever it is. Here in Israel, your variable rate can vary once a month, once a year, once every 2 years, 2.5 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. So you actually have a lot of flexibility in terms of balancing the stability of your mortgage and your monthly payments, and also getting a cheaper price. But it doesn't just stop there. You can also index your Israeli mortgage to Israeli CPI or Israeli inflation. You can change the duration. It doesn't have to be 30 years. It can be up to 30 years, but it can be 27 years, and it could be, 22 years, 25 years. It can be 15 years, 10 years, whatever works for you. You can even have your mortgage denominated as dollars or euros. So really, what's important to take from this is all of those options can come together. You can mix and match them to create a few different subloans, which combine together such that you have a mortgage tailored to your needs. It actually comes in very handy, and it may seem a bit complicated, but if you go through it step by step, very fundamentally and very pointedly, it actually ends up being a pretty well-fitting mortgage for your needs. One of the other things that I want to talk about is something known as LTV, or loan to value. Just to give a very quick explanation of what it is. If you're buying something that's worth $1 million, and the bank finances, let's say 45% of that. So that means 450,000, that's 45% LTV. And if they're financing out of the million, 700,000 or 750,000, that's 70 or 75% LTV. So generally in Israel, if you're buying your single property, your first property ever, you can get up to 75%, but that is contingent on you having Israeli citizenship. You don't necessarily have to be here in Israel. If you're not a citizen, you can get up to 50%, 50% financing. And if you guys are a couple where one spouse is Israeli, the other spouse is not Israeli, then you take the average of that and you have 62.5% financing. The next thing I want to get into is even if you are Israeli, if you're buying your second, third, fourth home, so on and so forth, then you can get up to 50% financing through the banks. I'll just add in a caveat here. You are able to get more financing, but those are with non-banking lenders. Oftentimes they are solutions, but they shouldn't be undertaken lightly. And that's really what your options are in terms of LTV. The other parameter is your income, right? So you can be limited by your LTV, meaning you need to come up with at least 25% down payment. The other limiting factor can be your income. So the way that it's calculated here in Israel is up to 39% of what I like to call your net income. What does that mean? Your net income after taxes, okay? So that's not your gross income, and that especially comes into play for business owners, but also for salaried workers. And you have to subtract, what your monthly expenses are. So we're talking about car loans or existing mortgages, so on and so forth. So that's your net income. You have 39% of that. So let's say after everything's said and done, you're making $10,000 a month. You can take out a mortgage where your monthly payments are up to $3,900 a month. Okay. If we move on to the next slide, then what we can see is part of building a mortgage here in Israel is ascertaining that it actually has a stability that suits you. One of the repercussions of having a variable rate mortgage or indexed to inflation, and those do have a very, very important role to play in building your mortgage, you may not have that same fixed rate over the longer duration of your mortgage. Your monthly payments may change. So first of all, you need to figure out how much money do you really need, for the obvious but often overlooked reason of if you take out more money than you need, you're going to be paying higher monthly payments and it's going to be more expensive. But the next thing to take into account is that as your monthly payments change, you're going to have to live through that, in the sense that when you're going from A to Z, you have to go through those steps B, C, D, E, F, so on and so forth. And life has its curveballs. So you have to take into account really the best way to not get into trouble is to just plan ahead so that when you're making your monthly payments, you're not going too high, right? You don't want to jump the gun on that. But at the same time, you also want to keep it efficient. So you have to keep in mind that as life happens, right, as you go through your mortgage, which is going to follow you through 20 years, 30 years potentially, you really want to be aware and cognizant that you're budgeting your mortgage in a way that's stable for both your total mortgage principal and for your monthly cash flow. If we move on to the next one, it's really important to understand what's going on in Israel in terms of the financial conditions. One of the things that obviously I do with my clients is we take a look at what's happening with inflation, what's happening if you're buying from a contractor, what's happening with what's known as the Builders Index or Madad Tshumot HaBniya, what's happening with prime. It went up. Is it coming down? When's it coming down? What are the different aspects that the Bank of Israel takes into account? This slide and the next slide really show how you can delve into it and plan out ahead of time so that you're not surprised. You're not, getting that curveball or seeing something coming from left field. You can really look through it ahead of time and see where your mortgage is going to go and if that fits you. I think the last thing that I want to bring up is that there are a lot of exceptions, right? So I brought up, for example, you can only get up to 75% loan to value or financing. And that's not true if you look at the bigger picture, because besides for the banks, you have non-banking lenders. You can actually get up to 90% financing. I don't like to put that in there because sometimes it sounds too good to be true, and it is too good to be true. It really depends on your specific situation. You can get a business mortgage, even with a foreign LLC, meaning if you have an LLC from overseas, you can use that LLC and the LLC can get a mortgage. You can get mortgages for retirees, pensioners, and even reverse mortgages. And if you're looking at a situation where one of the spouses does not yet have Israeli citizenship, then it may be actually worth it to look into larger LTV mortgages, so you can get more financing, and then you can recoup that later on. So if we move on to just the next slide, just a few of the most frequent questions that I get. The best time to start reaching out to a mortgage broker is really when you want to start buying, because even before you go shopping, you don't want to spend your time window shopping. You want to make sure that you're budgeting properly. You want to know what you're able to buy. You want to know the consequences of taking out, X amount of mortgage. And so if we go through the budgeting ahead of time, you can actually go shopping before tiring yourself out, so on and so forth. I do mortgages all over Israel. So if you're concerned about anywhere from up north to all the way down south and anywhere in between, thank God I can do it all. And feel free to ask Rafi to put us in touch if you have any other questions.
Great, Eytan, thank you. All right, Avraham, you're up.
Thank you, Rafi. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you, Natan. It was really interesting. And thank you all. And really nice to be here. Really happy to be here. Really happy to see right now 74 people that are in and that take advantage of their time to do something so special and so important as to learn of how to buy properties and how to how to do Aliyah and all of this really important webinar. So it's really make me happy to be here. I also want to just as a personal information, just to let you know, I just came from Modiin after 5 months. And I personally really feel that what we do here is in some way the continuation of the Modiin service, because in the end of the day, what we're all doing here is to promote and to contribute and to believe in the Jewish state. And I know it's a very strong word to be a Zionist, and I'm sure all of us together, you, the audience, and the presentators, all of us believe in the same thing. So it's really everyone that contribute and everyone that do even small thing. It's really make all of us happy. So it's really a pleasure. Maybe we start. 1 second, something here is okay. Maybe we start with the 2 main options of purchasing. So in Israel, we have 2 main options of how to purchase a property. This is not unique to Israel. In every state in the world, we have 2 options. Option number 1 is first-hand purchase. You can see this in clause A, and in clause B, you can see second-hand purchase. Those 2 kinds are actually to buy from a contractor or just to buy in the market from any other person that sell his property. And I would like to speak about some pros and cons in the option number A, first-hand purchase. So number 1, very big advantage is easy and smooth. When I'm saying easy and smooth, that means that when we buy from a big company, we know who is the company, and the company is very big and very known, and we know that we deal with a seller that that we can be relaxed. This is easy and smooth. This is an advantage. Okay, we don't deal with someone that today is here and tomorrow is in Japan. We know who is the seller. Another advantage, which this is really something I want you to remember, is the bank guarantees. You can see this in the line of advantages. The third one, bank guarantees. That means that every shekel you will give to the contractor, every penny, every shekel you will give, you will get against that a letter from a bank that will promise you that all of your funds are guaranteed. And if the contractor will be collapsing, if the contractor will go to the state, if the contractor will be in a very bad financial situation, that means nothing to you because you have those bank guarantees. The next advantage you can see is warranty. And when I'm saying warranty, in other words, I'm speaking about some kind of liability for the physical situation of the property. And that means when you will be entering your new property after 3-4 years, you will be sitting for Shabbos meal. After 3 years that you went through the process, you paid another payment and another installment and another payment. After that, you will be sitting after 3 years of process. You will be sitting in your home, and suddenly you will have water that's coming down from the ceiling, or another problem from the electricity or any crack in the walls. So you need to know that when you buy a first-hand purchase, you have a warranty. And very widely saying, again, I'm not going to go into the details because I will be happy to elaborate because every case is different, but in very generally saying, you will have a warranty. So this is another big advantage when you buy from a contractor. Something else which someone already mentioned that, I think Ariel maybe mentioned that, is that the option to buy 20/80. What does it mean? If you don't have a very high liquidity right now, if you don't have the cash right now, and you just want to put down 20%, and only in 5 years' time, when the property will be completed, to put the other 80, you can do it. And this is a very big advantage because, as Ariel or someone else explained already today, you just in some way linked your money to the market of real estate, even without putting all the 100%. You just put 20%, and in the same time, you're not losing the market. The market is not running away from you, and this is really, really important. I will say shortly also some disadvantages in first-hand purchase. Number one is the index. That's mean, again, I don't want to go too deeply, but it means that the property price will be updated and will be more expensive. Something else, there is no rent. If you bought in the option of 2080, you waited 3 years until the property will be ready. So in these 3 years, there is no rent. You didn't get any income from the property. Okay. Now let's speak about clause number B, second-hand purchase. You have more supply when you buy second-hand because the many neighborhoods and cities that there is no massive construction, new construction there. If we take Old Katamon and if we take Baka, so these are not places with massive new construction. For sure, you can find here and there a small project of Tama 38, if you heard about, and of a small Pinui Binui. But in general, these sites are has more second-hand purchase places. And by buying second-hand purchase, you actually open yourself to all of the market. You're not limited yourself to the first-hand, to those sites in the northern Netanya or in Nahariya and all of those places that we spoke about. When you buy from any private person, you have more room for negotiation. That means you can just believe and know that you have more option to negotiate because this is a private seller. You know, he's more flexible. This is not a Africa Israel and not Chikuni Binui and not Electra, etc., etc., etc. Okay, disadvantages. This is the last line you can see in the clause number B. Disadvantages in the process of purchasing second-hand is that you're buying as is. You're buying the property as is. When I'm saying as is, that means when you buy second-hand, very widely, you need to know that you have no warranty, no liability. If we spoke about the process of first-hand purchase, in which there you have liability and warranty for the physical situation of the property, when you buy a second-hand purchase, you don't have it. That means you need to be very careful, and for sure, we know in the contract how to do that, and we help many people to protect themselves from many problems. If I just give you an example, I had clients that they wanted to buy a property in Ramot, in Yerushalayim. We did a very deep check, and we saw that there are leaks there that in order just to fix those problems will be more than 1 million shekel. So we recommended them to move ahead and to go to another transaction, okay, to move from this transaction. Yeah, thank you, Rafi. Tax in the process. This is a topic that many people asking me, and this is very important that everyone that has questions will talk to me privately because this is complicated, very complicated. It depends how many years in how long you will come to Israel after the purchase, etc., etc., etc. But I want to tell you a few important things. Number one, you can see in line number 2, Israeli residents. If you are Israeli resident, you can have a very good discount for the purchase tax. If you have no property in addition to the property you are buying. Now, I know all of you guys are living abroad. That means all of you are resident of another country. You are not resident of Israel. So why am I telling it to you? I'm telling it to you because even if you will be a resident of Israel after the purchase, you still can enjoy this discount, but you need to speak with me, with Rafi, to understand exactly the time frame in which, how long after the signing of the contract you need to come to Israel to be an Israeli resident. So this is point number 2. Point number 3, non-Israeli resident, if you're not coming to Israel, you're just buying this as a pure investment, you will need to pay 8% purchase tax. And the 4th line is new Oleh. every one of you that will do Aliyah will have another kind of benefit, another kind of discount from the purchase tax, which is for new Olim that coming to Israel. And again, will be elaborated. If someone has questions, you can contact me. You will see my contact information later on. You can go to the next slide, Rafi. Okay, due diligence, very important for me as a lawyer. We do vast due diligence of the property. That means you can see in the second line, we check that there are no liens, no mortgages, no foreclosures, no pledge, etc. Okay. Again, don't want to make it too long, but we check everything. This is really, really important. We check every small details. We also do very vast due diligence of the seller, and we check that there are no debts, no creditors, that the seller is really the owner of the property, etc. I want to move ahead because I don't want to make it too deep. Thank you, Rafi. For conclusion, want you to remember, guys, bring your money to Israel before you do the transaction, not after you sign the contract. 99% of the times, I'm really recommend sign the contract after your money is already here. That's number one. Number two, sign the contract after your mortgage is ready. When I'm saying mortgage is ready, what I mean is you have approval in principle. You can write it down for yourself, those 2 points. And the last one, for sure, have a lawyer in Israel that deals with overseas investors and do this a lot of time, that he can guide you through this process. You can see my details information, you can see my email, you can see my phone, and feel free to contact me directly or through Rafi. That's all. Thank you, Rafi.
Thank you, Avraham. I know we're running a little late, but there's a lot of good information. I want to hand it over now to Daniel and Eytan from IsraTransfer. Transferring money to Israel, of course, is key to the transaction. So we'll have them speak, and then we'll get to some Q&A after that.
Hi, thank you for having us. Won't keep you very long. Moving money, whilst very important, is quite a boring subject, but someone's got to deal with it. We were founded in 2008. I'm one of the founders of the company. We now have 30 staff in Israel, which I'm personally very proud of, having set up the company when I made Aliyah. I actually made Aliyah directly to Modiin and lived in Dimri, which was talked about a bit earlier. I was one of the first residents in Dimri. And Rafi, I live in Renana, which I think is somewhere really you should cover next time, because I think it's a great city. But anyway, so when transferring money to Israel, it's very different to the rest of the world. First of all, when you're moving money, you have the choice of using the bank that you use in your country that you currently live in. But there's nuances to having money sent to Israel. The banking system works very differently. The way I like to describe it is, unfortunately, when you send funds to a bank here in Israel, you're guilty of money laundering until you prove yourself innocent. So you have to make sure that the paperwork and proof of your source of funds is in order. Now, you can do that and send that directly to your own bank in Israel, but if you've ever picked up the phone to an Israeli bank in this country, they pick up the phone and say what or ma, and that's where we are slightly different. We hold your hand through that process. So IsraTransfer, we're fully licensed in Israel to do what we do. We've helped in the last 16 years literally thousands of people to buy their house in Israel. If you move on to the next slide, Rafi. So obviously, why do you need a company like us, or why do you need to think about converting your money? So when you're purchasing a property here in Israel, or if you're making Aliyah and you need your living expenses, all payments are in shekel. We will save you money if you use us or a company like us. But the big reason to use a company like us is that there's different types of payments that you need to make when you're purchasing a property. When you buy on paper or firsthand, Avraham explained that there's it's like a bank guarantee. It's called shovarim. you need to be able to go into the bank to make those payments. And if you're living overseas, you can't do that. So we can make those kind of payments for you. Also, when you're buying a secondhand property, almost always you need to provide the seller with a bank check. So we can help provide a bank check for you to pay for that property at the time of signing. Another reason why you need to actually think about the exchange rates and why it's so vitally important, over the last 18 months, the dollar in this example has gone up from about 3.1 to 4.1 over that period of time. Now, if you're purchasing a property for $1 million, if you converted your funds at 3.1, you won't be very happy right now, but the difference between 3.1 and 4.1 is a huge difference. I mean, on $1 million, that's the difference between 3.1 million shekel and 4.1 million shekel over the course of 18 months. Now, obviously, a lot of payments are staged and you know, at different times, but you really need to consider the timing of the conversion of your funds, thinking about maybe hedging a little bit, but it's a very, very important factor when purchasing a property. So why, you know, do you need someone to help you with this, apart from everything that I've talked about so far? The language barrier is very important. As I said, if you pick up the phone to your bank in Israel, a lot of the time, even if you can communicate with them and you tell them you're going to send over a large amount of money, they're going to tell you almost certainly, send the money and then we'll tell you what documents we need. That's not how it should be, okay? You should have the paperwork in order, know exactly what you need before you transfer the funds. It's very, as I said, very, very important. The source of your money, you're going to be asked about it. So whether you may have to provide a CPA letter, to document where you got your money from. It could be as simple as just a tax return, but we all have very different stories about how we accumulated money. And it's really important, you know, if you speak to us, we'll understand how you sourced your money and we'll be able to advise you on what paperwork is needed to make the process as easy as possible. Eytan, who is here somewhere, will be your point of contact if you've got any questions. As I said, it's not straightforward when transferring funds. Everyone's got different stories, got different payment plans, and he's the guy that's got the time to, you know, listen, understand your needs, and he'll be able to advise you on the relevant paperwork that's needed and guide you through that process to make it as smooth as possible.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. I just want to thank also Shaya Safin, who had some technical issues, but Shaya lives in northern Netanya and would be happy to speak to anyone. You can reach out to me
anytime, Rafi.
Oh, okay. So if you want to just for quickly, just a couple minutes, just talk about North Netanya. We are running late, but if you a couple minutes and then we'll get to a few questions and we can wrap it up.
I can be very succinct. First of all, making Aliyah qualifies you to recognize that there's a whole new set of expectations. You're leaving a society that you know and coming to one that the only thing you know is what you've heard. And so we came during COVID, and that gave us a very different flavor for Israel than coming today. But when you look, and you've now heard from everyone, realtors who we've dealt with and people that we know well, and they've spoken to you as straightforwardly and with as much depth and concern as they actually have always demonstrated to the two of us. When you come, you probably won't know where you want to go. And so the idea that you're leaving something is not a good idea. You're coming to something is what you have to appreciate, and where you're coming to is undetermined. Now, We have a different circumstance than everyone else because we're all unique. But Netanya, as you saw Darren show you Netanya, there's a series of variations in what when we came to Israel was the 7th largest and now the 6th largest metropolitan area in Israel. And there's incredible diversity, whether it's in Yerushalayim, it's in Nahariya. There are things that only you can weigh, but be patient with yourself because frankly, while we'll tell you how great it is to live in the Nitsa area next to Sanz and next to the Laniado Hospital and next to the Shuk, and on that cliff where Darren's offices are, by the way, and we can walk down those steps to the beach, you know, that suits who we are. We're 150 meters from the shul that he talked about. You need to be careful, and what needs to be done most importantly is be honest with yourself and let people help you because you don't know enough to do anything besides flounder in all likelihood.
Okay, thank you so much, Shai. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the questions here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen 1 second. Just while I'm going through the questions, I'm just going to put up the poll one more time for a minute, just if you didn't get a chance to answer that, do that, and then we'll just quickly skim through the questions and answer a few questions. And then again, if we don't get to your questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I'll put up the contact information here, and it will be in the recording as well. Okay. So while you're answering the poll, there's a question here about buying a property and not moving in right now. And you can speak to all the realtors separately, but that's something that they'll help you with. If you want to buy a property and rent it out, short-term, long-term, all the realtors can help you with that. If you want to find a property manager, either they'll help you or they'll introduce you to somebody. So if you want to invest or you want to buy a property in Israel, but you're not ready to move yet, there are definitely a lot of options to consider, and the realtors will help you with that. There's a question here about Kupat Cholim and the HMOs, and I can just share with you that you can change them. I think it's once every quarter if you want to change from one Kupat to another.
I think once every 2 months even, you can switch. It's a bit of a nuisance, but it can be done.
Okay. Then there's a question just about us, Olim Advisors, Nefesh B'Nefesh. So just quickly, I'll share that Nefesh B'Nefesh is great in helping you through the bureaucracy, the application process. We really come in for people who are looking for more hand-holding, making the decisions that we talked about. So it's not either us or Nefesh B'Nefesh. We work together to really help people, make Aliyah. Eliran, if you're still there, there's a question here about pricing. If you want to just give the range of the prices in apartments in Achziv.
Yeah, of course. Around $500,000 will be for a 4-bedroom apartment. For 4 rooms, it's 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. And for a 5-room, it will be around 650,000. More or less. So price ranges varies between the rooms, and almost all apartment has a very good sea view. You're more than welcome to come and see it for yourself.
Okay. I think those are the main questions that have come up here. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining. I want to thank the presenters, the Olim, the residents, for taking the time and joining us tonight. And I want to thank you for joining us and really encourage you to see through your plans, whether it's to make Aliyah, buy a home in Israel. And like I mentioned, I will be sending out the recording. The last slide here has everybody's contact information, or you can always reach out to me, and I'll be happy to put you in touch. So have a good week, a safe week. Shavua Tov. Thank you so much, everyone. Laila Tov. Be well.
Shavua Tov. Thank you, everyone.